Said it once, I'll say it again. Downcast by Clint Stoker is one of the most important books in independent comics today. Just came out, just got it in the mail. Let's take a look. Alright everyone, Yan Zhao back again. Another car video. Sorry, but it's the only time I have to make videos these days. My wife has packed my schedule full of Christmas parties. Which leads me to my first point, my first question actually. If anyone knows a good way to get out of your spouse's Christmas obligations, please leave a comment down below. I have about 2 more weeks of this nonsense. Alright, Downcast. Downcast is a fantastic book by Clint Stoker and Ignacio Lazaro. Damian Panambla. Now, I think Damian was sort of a late addition as the colorist. I could have sworn somebody else was doing colors before. I don't know what happened with that. The ever-present Eric Weathers. I don't know. Eric Weathers should be like how you know something's an official independent book. And then this is quite a nice book. We'll get into some of the great features. But just opening the first page, I noticed this. We have Clint, thanks people, Peter Simeti. Gave him lots of advice. Awesome. Clint, the nicest man in comics, got a lot of advice from Peter, the hardest working man in comics. Ethan Van Sciver. Ethan definitely pumped him up, said a lot of nice things. It's very nice. Stephanie Stoker, his wife. Clint, buddy, you put your wife number 3? Seriously, man? How long were you in the doghouse over that? You should put her up there. Peter and Ethan would understand. I know Ethan's a married man. I don't know about Peter, but they would understand. So before I get into the actual meat of this review, let me just point out, I have had interactions with Clint on several occasions. He streamed on my channel once. Super nice dude. So will that color my opinions? Maybe. So take everything with a grain of salt. All right, so to start off, Downcast is a small story. Now, what I mean by a small story is it's self-contained in a world that it's futuristic. We don't really know a whole lot about it, and it's really not that important. All the relevant facts he will explain to us along the way, but it's not like if I'm reading a Spider-Man comic and some villain shows up, oh, I need to understand this villain comes from Iron Man or something like that. You could just jump right into this story and know it. It almost reminds me more of earlier Stan Lee stories where they were more self-contained and they didn't really care so much about the wider Marvel universe. Clint isn't trying to universe build with this so much. It's more I don't know, the character study is kind of the right word, but more about characters. Okay, so just starting off, let's take a look at the artwork. The artwork, I think, is fantastic. Ignacio, or Nacho as Clint calls him all the time, he has a very distinctive style. All of it is quite nice. You know, let's take a look at this page, for example. So we have a shot that's low, the camera's up, low. Okay, we have one sort of straight on, and then we go, the camera's high up, camera's a little bit lower. So we don't have the design problems that plague most modern day Marvel and a lot of the DC books, which is they are boring AF. This is visually dynamic. Let's take a look at this guy's face here. So Nacho has his own style, right? Very distinctive. So when you're looking at books, you need to sort of put them in a 4-point quadrant. One is I like it, I don't like it, and the other is well done, not well done. So I would firmly put this in the well done. I like it, so it's a win for me, but I could understand if some people didn't like it. So for example, I do not like Hellboy's Mike Mignola's art. I never liked it, even when he was at Marvel. I would always pass up the books he was doing. Just not for me, but they're all well done. So if someone doesn't like this, understandable, but you can't say it's bad quality, because it's certainly not. Now, I don't know if Nacho has any previous comic credits, but if this is his first, like, this is pretty good swinging out of the gates. So one thing I'm kind of on the fence about is the color in this book. In general, I like it, but in some places I think it could be more effective. It could be used more effectively, let's put it that way. So we can see this is a very modern color. It's not the gradated color, thank God, but it's like, how to say, the steps of colors are closer, like stuff that would not work as well on print. It's not as flat. And we can see this especially here with this rope. Like, this panel is a good example. So you can see the background here is very faded, right? So it makes it look more distant. Jack should be the most saturated. Joe should be less, but I don't know, the values kind of look similar to me. And in this rope, very saturated, and this rope here kind of looks the same, whereas I would expect this to be less saturated, closer to gray, just to indicate more depth. So I think in some places it could have been used more effectively. That having been said, a lot of it's fantastic. If we look at their clothes, these two both have elements of yellow. He's got the sneakers, the hair, her shirt. So these are their colors, and they match the theme of the sun. And then when we look at, let's look at all these other bad guys. So very desaturated, sort of neutral tones, a little bit darker, almost bluish. We have these costume villains who are wearing red. So it's all very well delineated, demarcated. Again, yellow on them, less in the environment, but still some. So it's quite nice. I like the color theory that we know who we're looking at right away, just based on the colors. That is really well done. So hats off to the colorist. You don't see that as much these days. One thing I was a little confused about is, okay, so the bad guys are wearing these costumes. Now, this is interesting because this is really a sci-fi world. Clint is a sci-fi guy. I remember talking to him that one time, and he said he's more into sci-fi than he is necessarily into superhero comics, and he's especially more, and in comics he's more into 80s than 90s. So my question is why. I'm very curious as to why these guys are in costume, because everybody else dresses kind of normally, right? And Joe had her makeshift costume earlier. Like, she could walk down the street. These guys, not so much. You know, if you saw these guys walking down the street, you'd be like, is there an anime con? Is it Halloween? What's up with these dudes? So I'm not quite sure how he will explain that. I assume the explanation is coming in Downcast too. Another couple of things about the book. This book, unlike some independent comics, is very family friendly. if you, well, actually, it's probably even more family friendly than late 80s, early 90s books, because those had a lot of, for lack of a better word, over sexualization, although not porn, but you had women wearing revealing things and in sexy poses and stuff. And this sort of ignores that in favor of straight up story. But Downcast is definitely a very family friendly title. So if you are someone with kids who wants to get them into hobbies, this very well may be the gateway drug for them. All right, well, that is my quick review. Downcast gets a big thumbs up from me. I highly recommend it. I would assume, although I don't know for sure, that Clint is going to have some ability to buy issue 1 when his Indiegogo for issue 2 comes up. I think he said it's going to be up sometime in February 2020. So if when the new one comes out you are able to buy this and you haven't, definitely get this. Get the second one. Very good read. Very good quality. And it was actually out on time. It's kind of amazing. What's more to say? Go buy Downcast. So thanks everyone for tuning in. I will have some more, hopefully non-car comic reviews coming up. Still waiting on the new Jawbreakers book, Soul Finder. Come on, Doug. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Tell me what you think down below. And click the subscribe button. Really helps out the channel. Thanks, guys. I'll see you later.